Hello.
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 Hello. Oh, the camera's on a funny angle. Or is it?
No, it's fine.
That's all right.
That's fine.
Why don't I see the messages doing the thing?
I've got an advert.
You've got an advert.
There you are.
Okay.
There you are.
But can people see and hear me? Well,
Yes.
I can see you can see me, but I don't know if people can hear.
I can see you and hear you.
But you're in the room.
And
other people
equally as important.
Other people who have. But if it's just you and me in the room seeing and hearing each other, that's a conversation, not a live
You're
stream.
live and clear, Kev says.
Well, that's splendid news.
Thank you, Kev.
Thank you from someone who can answer the question I asked.
Don't start. You know I'm harder than you.
I know you're armed.
I'll win in a fight.
Only through my abstention.
Nope.
The claw is in the chat.
Alan. Hello.
I feel like I need to get my hat. Take it off to you, sir.
Me too.
I caught some of your live stream last Friday, Claw. I thought it was great.
Aww. What was he talking about?
Well, at Fast Panda, they have reached a major threshold where Corvus Belli, which is the company who makes the game they play, so their equivalent of Games Workshop for me, Corvus Belli started sending them free stuff.
Wow.
I know. Major milestone. And what they did, rather than do an unboxing like what I does, they put it all together and put it on little turny tables and did a live stream and talked about it and put pictures up and everything. It was dead cool.
It's already on my pad.
So, Mick the Machine, super chatted. Thank you, Mick. Can see, can hear, or multiple point can see, can hear! Also, shout out, please, for Paul Fest and Crimson Conflux.
It's on my pad. I'm ready to go. Paul Fest, 16th of September. Hosted by the lovely Mick the Machine. So get in contact with him if you want. If you want any tickets for that, be there or be square because we are playing each other.
We've got to pack you some more stuff, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well,
we are playing each other and...
Your new book's out now. It arrived on Saturday.
Oh, did it? Yeah. Fantastic. And also the Crimson Conflux on the 27th and 28th of May. Tickets are ready to go on sale. I've just been having a few technical issues.
Some technical issues. Nearly resolved.
Yes. Oh, and Secondborn. Sorry, I do apologise. And Secondborn as well. It's a joint event.
So I believe the joint nature of the Paul Fest event. Secondborn has been running a tale of poor gamers in the Discord where people build and collect armies a few hundred points a month over 6 months. You're probably all very familiar with the format. Almost literally everyone is doing it. But Secondborn has been running it in our Discord. And I believe the event is also for people who have done Tale of Poor Gamers to come along with their poor gamer armies and play poor gamer games. Whew. Whew. So, usual format. The bit of a ramble about this week in hobby, and then the ramble subject, and as ever, the wonderful Crimson will be collating questions as we go, and I will attempt to answer them. I'm going to be honest, work has stolen my brain today. I took it with me. I haven't come home with it. So this could go any direction. So what hobby have happened this last week? Oh, right, yes. So hobby stuff that hasn't happened. Painting wise, I finished painting a unit of Skaven Storm Vermin. Can't even talk. A unit of Skaven Storm Vermin that we're halfway through, and I am about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through painting Hell Pit Abomination, also for Skaven. Have list of things for all Siege of Excelsis games, working my way down list in order of game appear thing. Also working on, because I've got 2 stations. I've got the station on by the armchair in front of the telly. That I'm currently building Felwar Troggoths. Because I've got 2 lists, you see. Things I've got to build, things I've got to paint. Well, actually, the things I need in order, but I've got 2 columns. The build, yes, no, in progress. Paint, yes, no, in progress. And I've got a bit of conditional formatting to change it through red, through to amber, and then green. Are
you reading what I'm writing? You're reading what I'm writing, aren't you? You're doing that thing where you're trying to multitask. It's not working. You just look away with the fairies.
The other hobby thing, maybe I need to put a bit of paper up over that so I can't see it. The other hobby stuff from this last week is recorded a video on Saturday of episode 6 of I told you the brain didn't come home with me. Episode 6, The Siege of Excelsis. We're going to ignore the fact for the minute I haven't filmed episode 5 yet. It's a tiny. That's just a production thing. That was really good. I had James from Clash of the Dice up for the day, and we had an almighty throwdown where Kragnos and Gordrak, the Fist of Mork, first encounter each other. We're in the run-up to the Siege of Excelsis as the hordes are gathering in the heartlands of Gur. That was a lot of fun. There were Gargants, there were Oryx, there were Grots, there was a giant, weird, big, horsey thing with weird horns.
Don't call him that. That's not kind. James is lovely.
There were Troggoths.
Sorry.
And of course, that is
and it was absolutely fabulous. What time did you finish? You played all day, didn't you?
We did. Actually, we finished at 7:30. It's because AOS is an awful lot quicker to play than 40k.
Yeah, what were you doing?
Well, we played the game. We even stopped and had lunch. We had a laugh. Yeah, then I got to bed before midnight and actually had enough time to eat before bedtime. So, yeah. Good times. Good game. Lots of fun.
Tell me about the lockup.
We talked lockup last week, didn't we?
I know, but we've started to fill it.
We put a tent in it.
No, we have, yeah, but that's not all we've done.
That's all we've done since last Tuesday.
Well, had you taken all that stuff through last Tuesday?
Yeah, I did that last Sunday.
All right, okay. And there is a stack of empty boxes downstairs to be filled.
Yeah. The sellers. It's a process. I'm not managing to do it all at once, but it's a process. So yeah.
Would you like a question?
Oh, go on.
Okay, then. So Sleepy Sack, fabulous name. Sleepy Sack says, "Hi Paul, if you get a 10th edition release box, what High Fleet colours will you paint the Tyrannid? Sorry, Tyrannid portion. It's moving as I'm speaking. Tyrannid portion.
I think Tyrannid.
Yeah, Tyrannid. Yeah,
Tyrannid.
I've got it.
So I have always liked High Fleet Leviathan. I love the black purple against the bone background. I think they look absolutely freaking awesome. When I got back into 40k in 4th ed, and there were 3 of us who got into it simultaneously. One was myself. One was Storm Shroud from Fast Panda. He no longer plays Warhammer. He plays Infinity. Go check out Fast Panda. And a chap I work with called Sooty, and I did Blood Angels. Storm Shroud did Imperial Guard, and Sooty did Tyrannids, and he painted them in High Fleet Leviathan, and they looked absolutely effing great. So I've always liked that scheme. When I tried to paint my old 2nd ed Tyranids, I did them in a variant of High Fleet Bearmoth. Didn't like it. Ended up selling them. That's a slightly different story. It wasn't because the paint job was bad. I could have stripped them and repainted them, but I ended up selling them. It was a shame. I liked my spike rifles, my Terminator spike rifles, and the gargoyles with flame spurts, like carrying around like a little cross between a bellows and flame you to death, flame you.
Mick,
so
me and you gonna fall out. Does that mean there's more room in Paul's house for new plastic crack?
Yes. Yes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the plastic crack in the places I want plastic crack to be. And when I get more stuff, I will be pushing some stuff out. There'll be a relatively fixed amount in the house. And when new stuff comes in, it will either go straight to the storage unit or it will displace other things. So I want to be able to move around the house, hence acquiring the storage unit. I mean, it's like an obstacle course going to my painting desk at the minute. So I love High Fleet Leviathan, so I will most certainly, when I eventually paint Tyranid, be doing High Fleet Leviathan. I want to work out, if I can find a super quick way of doing it, then it'll still be one of 65 armies I need to paint. So who knows when it'll happen. So the main subject of the ramble this evening is...
Would you like just a couple of questions just before?
Okay, we'll get a couple of questions just before. I need to open up some stuff on screen so I can read anyway. So I will attempt to multitask.
Okay. So, Josh says, "Hi, Josh." Josh Arnold says, "Hey, Paul."
Why did Josh say hi, Josh? That seems redundant.
I'm saying hi, Josh. I'm not the only one that's got friends. Hey, Paul, did you like the Breath of the Wild gameplay trailer? If that's your thing, is it your thing?
The Breath of the Wild gameplay trailer. Well,
trailer, not trainer, because that's different. Trailer.
Okay. Well, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say no. I don't think I saw it because it doesn't sound like I know what that is.
No, it doesn't sound like you know what it is.
No, it doesn't.
But is it new Zelda game on Nintendo Switch? That's what it is.
Okay. Well, I do like sword and sorcery adventure role-playing type games. I do own a Switch. The problem is the amount of brain I bring home from work with me every day either gives me enough brain power to be able to, still have motor functions, or I can play a computer game, and then the next day I just sort of rock backwards and forwards. So I'm often too brain dead to play games. So it's the last time I really played a game all the way through was when I was between contracts, and I just played and played and played. So I doubt I will look at the one thing that's really gonna pull me in when it comes out is Space Marine 2. There will definitely be time being made for that. I need to work out how I'm going to make time for that and still be able to do other things, because there's only so much juice in the tank. So no, I haven't seen that.
Okay, and just before you go into your Rambo, just before you do it, is Sarcastic Monkey. Which flavour of orc is more appealing to you? 40k or AOS or Warhammer Fantasy Battle?
40k. 40k orcs are much more rounded. They're much quirkier. The civilization sort of comes to life in the 40k universe. AOS, they're fine. They're good. They're fun, but they don't come alive. I don't feel I can identify with and assume the personality of different orcs or clans or war bands. There's not the breadth. There's not the depth in the AOS orcs. There's no equivalent of the shock attack gun in AOS. I mean, the shock attack gun is just such a crazy concept. An insane orc who has no idea how technology works cobbles together a contraption that creates a miniature black hole that he then uses to kick his slaves through in the hope that one of them materializes in that dude's head over there. Orc psychers that are so that being near other orcs hurts their heads so much they have to be dragged to battle. But if they survive enough battles, they start to love it.
Your finger went right big then.
What did I do?
Look. Seemingly, Minecraft doesn't take lots of brain power, says Mick, and it's fun.
Neither does Clash of Clans on my phone, which is what I spend a lot of my random doing.
Yes.
Or little tiny sort of move the bricks or flick the pipes. Or there's a great one called Zen. You filthy individual. There's one called Zen Tumble, I think, where just little things just drop down the screen and bounce off things. You go watch them fall to the bottom, and you're like, wow, that's she's apoplectic with schoolgirl giggles in the corner over here.
I'm not. I'm sucking a dairy milk button. What?
I don't know. Just the way you started that sentence made me think it was going to finish somewhere else.
No.
Good.
Dairy milk button.
Good. So to launch, we're only 19 minutes in. So let's talk about the subject. So 40k 10th ed. What do we know or what do we not know? I tell you what I don't know any more after watching yesterday's video interview than I knew before it started. I don't know if anyone else can actually... I watched it and I thought, we knew all that. That was nothing new. Nothing. Okay, so I've got the thing over here, the announcement. So I'm looking at it and glancing down. So what do we have? So here's a data card for termagants. So And there are a number of things we can infer off this. There are some interesting keywords on there. Infantry, Great Devourer, Termagants, Endless Multitude. Curious to see what that means. Move 6. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Toughness 3. Thank God. Wounds 1. Leadership or LD 8+. Okay, so we're going to have some kind of different leadership mechanic that is not the same. It's the presence of the plus that makes me wonder how that's going to be different. So I don't imagine that's going to be this. Sorry, brain, glass, smudge, eye. Something happening with leadership. OC, interesting. So objective control, apparently. I'm sure I read that somewhere. Objective control 2. So I speculate that you add up the OC values of all the units that are on the objectives, and whoever's got the highest total wins. I bet that's it. Ranged weapons. Now here be some interesting things. I say some interesting things. Weapons. So there are some keywords next to the weapons. Obviously, the fleshball says assault. Termagant Spinefist says assault. Pistol, twin linked. Devourer is none of those things. We're down to smaller numbers of attacks. 1 for fleshball. The big thing for me is the fact that the APs are all back down to 0. So with a bit of luck, they're actually going to take the baseline as 0, and anything that deviates from that is warrants additional AP has it. The ballistic skill being on the individual weapons, which makes perfect sense. If something has a negative to hit, rather than taking half a paragraph to try and explain -1 to hit, they just put it on the individual weapon. Very like AOS, which is good. I wonder what assault is going to mean. I wonder if assault depends what they've done. I mean, if you can charge after firing, because you never used to be able to do that back in the day. Assault used to be after you've fired, you can still charge. Some other weapons used to be either or. Twin linked is interesting, especially seeing as that's effectively a pair of spine fists. I imagine that's going to be reroll hits for twin linked weapons. I don't know though. Xenos claws and teeth, weapon skill 4+, strength 3, AP dash. Good. These are meant to be weak mass troops, and this data sheet says to me weak mass troops, which is a positive from my perspective. The rule about synapse, skulking horrors on there is an ability for that unit. I love the fact it's all going to be on cards. I have been hoping they were going to do that for ages because that's what really works in AOS. One of the things that really works. There's a thing in here somewhere where it talks about how profiles are going to degrade. It says, well, yes and no. They're not going to degrade. They're going to degrade in the same way, but they're going to be easier to reference. I imagine they're going to do what they do in AOS for that, which is have the same stat line and just 1 or 2 items are ostracized and they degrade, and those are pulled out. So you only have to look up for a couple of individual things rather than looking at the whole line. I hope they do that because it works really well in AOS. All the data sheets on the first day of the new edition. The rules for every data sheet will be free to download. Suggests to me they won't be after that. and the new things that come out you will have to buy rather than being free. I like the fact they're going to sell them all as card decks from day one. I mean, my wallet is whimpering at the thought of having to rebuy all the decks, but I love cards. I love the card decks, so I think that's a positive step. Faction and army rules now take up just a couple of pages, just like AOS. There's definitely going to be an AOS-y theme to my perspective. Army selection is pretty straightforward. Pick a faction, pick a warlord of the units you like, stay within your points limit. That's it. Pretty similar to another game I've heard of. No longer have to fit your army into a force org chart or compromise on the army you really want. I guess that's okay, because one could argue that force organization charts and formations, as they were back in the day, are a way of trying to make you build a more narrative army. But the thing is, competitive players don't want to build a narrative army. They want to have choices and options, and they will also find a way around the restrictions of building a narrative army if they don't want to do it. They'll find what works for them. And narrative players are going to do that anyway. They're going to build narrative armies anyway. So actually, if I think about the Imperial Guard, where I've thought, I don't know how I'm going to fit in. I don't know how I'm going to make a platoon work. Well, actually, looking at this, so I'll have 5 infantry units, infantry squads. That's within the restrictions. I'll have 3 heavy weapons. That doesn't take up my 3 heavy choices, so I can still put Layman Russ in there if I want. Yeah, it isn't going to work for every army build, but do you know what? It's an easier way for narrative gaming. It's easier for me to just... So this thing here where it says, just no more than 3 of any one type, asterisk, or 6 for the battlefield role. That's really easy to just ignore in a narrative game. You don't have to say, oh, we're doing this thing and that thing, and we're not worrying about this rule, and we're taking an exception to this, and we're paying command points for that, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and doing the other. We just say, we're not using the rule of 3 because it's a narrative game and it doesn't really matter. So that's dead easy to agree with your opponent. It's dead easy for making videos. If I wanted to do, if I wanted to run an Imperial Guard army with a couple of platoons in it, all mounted in chimeras, okay, I need 10 infantry squads at like 60 points each in current money. So it's like you could easily do a couple of infantry platoons in 2,000 points if you were that way inclined. So all you have to do is just agree with your opponent. We skip the rule of 3 because we're playing a fun game. We're playing that. Yeah, great. So yeah, I have decided I'm in favour of that. I have to see how they implement it, but on the face of it, that seems like a good change because it gives narrative players more freedom, it gives competitive players more freedom, and to be honest, both groups were going to do is work around that anyway. So I can see at the corner of my eye in the chat a few comments about some rules that I haven't seen appear on the community. I know there have been some leaks. I'm not going to talk about those. I am only talking about things that we know that have come from Warhammer community. So you guys watching might know more than me if you've seen any of those docs. Codexes. Yeah, everyone's codex goes in the bin. That is pretty crappy from a point of view of having bought all the codexes. and ones having been released as recently as this year. That said, the fact that they're all going to be free online is something of a forgiveness from that. Even in 8th edition, they weren't all free. You had to buy the indexes. If you wanted everything, you had to buy 5 indexes, indices. That said, I don't want to just work off a PDF, but if you were that bothered, it's a PDF. It's free rules. You print them out. So, yeah, it's okay, I think. Kevin Caffarley has used his members for 29 months. Looking forward to 10th edition. It looks dyslexia friendly. I know what you mean. Do you mean the layout of the cards and the fact there's far less words to it? I assume that's what you mean. Definitely. I like the fact I am not going to have to in the 9th ed books, you have to spend so much time reading the thing to work out what it actually ruddy means. So I am very much looking forward to not having to do that. So I'm in complete agreement there. Combat patrols, a new way to play. Well, by new, they mean an old way to play. Now, what I'm not clear on is if there are going to be a set of rules for combat patrol and a structure to tell you how to make a combat patrol, and it just so happens that the boxes that they sell called combat patrols conform to those rules. I don't know. I hope it's the former. I hope there's actually a structure to how combat patrols work, and it's not literally what you can get in that box. Because back in the day in 4th ed, a combat patrol was a type of game. It was sort of nicknamed 40k in 40 minutes. And I remember them quite well. They were 400 points. You played it on a 4x4 table instead of a 6x4. You couldn't take anything that had more than 2 wounds. Back in the day when characters had 3 at most. The big characters had 3. You couldn't take anything with a 2-up save. You couldn't take anything that had a combined armor value of more than 33, which effectively meant you could take light vehicles, some transports, and scout vehicles only. That was mostly it. I think there were a couple of other I think they were basically the rules for that game, but it worked really nicely. There was also a force org chart with it, so the only minimum requirement was 1 troop. You could take up to 2 others. You could take 1 HQ, take 1 elite, 1 heavy support, and I think it was 2, possibly 3 fast attack. It's meant to be stuff. But what I used to do with the lads on occasion is we'd do a combat patrol night where we all turned up with a couple of different combat patrol lists, and we'd play 6-7 games in an evening. Yeah, I hope there's a framework to build varying combat patrol lists, and it's not just what is in the box is a combat patrol and there's no other way of doing it thing. I like the notion of a simplified version of the game for beginners with a I've always thought you need layers with Warhammer to be able to vary what it is you're actually going to, how to put it. So we found this. I'm talking to Crimson now, and even though she's frantically scribbling, but I know she can multitask, so she won't mind. When we started looking at you playing some Warhammer, we discounted 40k because it was too complex.
It was too difficult, yeah.
But
there were just too many rules. Yeah.
But when we looked at AOS, we said, right, here's the core of the game.
Yeah.
Let's play some of that.
Yeah.
And then we did a few games of that just with the cards and the basic rules and doing just what the card said.
Yeah.
And then after you've got the hang of that for a couple of games, we said, right, now here are the other things. Here's your general, here's extra magic spells, here's this, here's that.
Yeah.
And then we put that on top.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a big jump, but it was layers of the game. There's all sorts of complexity. If people want complexity in the game,
it depends how you want to play it, doesn't it?
It does depend how you want to play it.
Yeah.
And for me, they would do well to an extent to lean into that and consciously break that up into chunks to say, this is your basic game, your basic rule set. Here's your standard.
Advanced.
Here's your standard, and then here's your advanced.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to. All you do in any given game is just agree with your opponent what rule set you're playing, and each one is just a layer on top of the other. Most veterans, or most people who play frequently, would always play at the top level, but it's an accessibility thing for me.
I think it can put people off because there's that much to it. I think it can sometimes take away the fun of it because you're trying to remember all the rules and everything that you've got to do. Whereas when we made it really simple, that encouraged you to want to play again.
I remember.
I think sometimes it can be a bit, there's a lot to learn all at once in that.
I remember on maybe I don't remember.
I was just thinking, we've got a few questions. Do you want to kind of pause and take a question or two now?
Yeah, of course.
Before we carry on anymore, because we kind of lose track, don't we, a little bit? So now Walsh says, how do you feel about the change to remove psychic phase?
So
do you hang on do you suspect this will reduce choice to, e.g., Thousand Suns? How does the choice of spells work in AOS, and would this be a good thing for 40k?
Okay, so there's a few different things there. So firstly, how spells work in AOS. There are two basic spells that everyone can have access to. One is a damaging spell called Arcane Bolt. The other is a defensive spell called Mystic Shield. Every wizard in the game can cast those. You also get a spell on your war scroll, so on your data sheet, that only that unit can cast. So you have access to 3. And every wizard gets to pick one additional one from one of the spell laws, which, so if you're a goblin shaman, you can cast Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, whatever's written on the combat on the card, and then one from the Moon Clan list. So you get 4, 3, 2 are generic to everyone. The X one is just for that unit, and then 1 is picked from a generic list, from an army specific list. Do I think if they did something similar? Well, what do I think about the changes? I personally like having them all in one phase because where I struggled in previous editions of the game was where things said like, use at the end of the movement phase, use at the start of the something phase, use in the middle of the what's it phase, use 37 seconds into part 2 of phase 3A, otherwise you've missed your window of opportunity. And I would often forget to do them at the right times. So I liked the psychic phase, bringing it all together in one point. So if it is straightforward and intuitive on the cards, it says, use this in the shooting phase, use it when the unit attacks, or nominate a unit to do this, probably in favor. Depends how they've done it. I like doing it all at once. So I like the hero phase in AOS, where you do a bunch of things, one of which is cast your spells. So I don't particularly see a problem with that. I'm curious as to why. Well, maybe I was going to say, if they've got the hero phase, maybe they haven't got the hero phase. Maybe the hero phase is no more. But if the hero phase is there, the command phase, I would be curious as to why they haven't just put psychic powers in it, which makes me think actually they've done away with the command phase. Yeah, I bet you they've done away with the command phase. I say I bet you. I don't bet anything, but my suspicions lead me to conclude they've done away with the command phase.
Mick says, I like the idea of having less stats to think about. Also, I like the sound of how morale will now work.
I've no idea how morale will work. It's not something that GW have officially released, so not something I can really comment on.
Okay. William Willis says, I would like to have seen the return of initiative.
Yeah, so I do wonder how they're going to handle that. Initiative is good. So back in the day, back in 7th Ed, every unit had a stat called initiative, and in the fight phase, during melee combat, units attacked in order of their initiative. So if you've got lots of really fast-moving Eldar that all had high initiative, fighting against orcs who all had low initiative, your Eldar would pretty much all go first, and then the orcs would have their go. I imagine the initiative stat doesn't lend itself well to competitive play, because you would have high initiative armies always acting across the board before low initiative armies, and I imagine they don't want that. So that's why I'm not quite surprised they haven't done it. I imagine they've got it in Heresy, and I imagine it works well in Heresy because most of the units are probably on an even keel. Goodness me. Andy Zolwig has super chatted.
Wow.
Just to thank you for being you, Paul. Your content changed my hobby completely. Wow, man. Thank you very much. Your contribution is that's amazing. Thank you. And I'm glad to have had a positive influence. I'm glad you enjoy it.
While we're on Andy, so to speak, he says which I really thought was really lovely. So I've got to read it out. It says, my son and I just watched your series of GSC Tyranids, Tau, and Dark Angels and Knights while we painted Warcry terrain together. It was brilliant fun. And nice. That, my friend, is what it's all about. Aww.
Glad you enjoyed it. That content was a lot of fun to make. I'm glad it's been enjoyable to watch. Big thank you to all the guys involved in that campaign. It was a good one.
Stephen Pierce says, narratively, how do you feel they will bring the Lion back to 40k? He has so many plot threads to wrap up, but I think nothing will resolve. He will just be awake, still not meet Cypher, still unforgiven.
I'm inclined to agree. That is what I think is likely to happen. And what from the video that they put out where it said, "Oh, as a child, he hunted beasts. Then he became a knight, and now he's woken up again. Now he's going to go and hunt beasts again." I have a suspicion, narratively, he's basically just going to be a guy with a chapter of Space Marines chonking around the galaxy looking for big things to kill. What I would like to see him do is go and challenge Gilliman because of his assumption of effectively the Emperor's throne. I think that'd be a much cooler narrative thing to do, but it does not look like that's the way to go. They're just probably setting him up as a guy who can kill big things.
And we've just got one more. Do you want to do this one before we carry on? Okay, so this is the Claw, our Alan. With 40k being a book-based game, if you don't like it or don't want to invest more, there is no law saying that you can't carry on playing 9th with your mates.
This is very true. This is very true. Although of all the editions of 40k I could choose to play, 9th is the last I would choose to play. There you go. How's that for damning?
And there's just another question on the screen there from Big D. How is your backing of models doing? Backlog of models doing, sorry. Is it ready for the release of the new sculpts?
It's always ready for the release of the new sculpts. That's why I've got a storage container. I'm working my way through it. My rate of model completion is being hampered by my day job that I am having to go to earn money to pay for the house and the plastic models. So there's that. There's that. But I'm getting through them slowly. What is unfortunate is I am buying them faster than I'm painting them. And storage container. Yeah. What I should probably refer to as my first storage container.
There's a lot more scope for more on that rubbly ground. They're ever growing. You probably should get 2 together now before they make more.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, see, up here for thinking.
As soon as the next one comes along, I want that one.
I'm like, yes.
So I don't have to work for. What's wrong with you?
Okay. There's a couple in Discord, but I thought we'll do Discord after. Do you want to do Discord afterwards?
I'm good to move on to Discord now. I'm kind of at a natural. I've gone through everything that they've already announced, so I'm good to move on to the Discord portion. I mean, there's stuff on individual models and things, but I'm more thinking about the game itself. So I'm good to go to Discord.
There's just a couple. So it's a question from Squawk. So Squawk says, as a player of AOS and 40k, do the hints at rules changes for 10th edition 40k sound like it's drawing inspiration from or moving towards a similar system of how AOS plays? And what are your thoughts on that?
It sounds like it is drawing from, if you take the current rule base as its core, drawing inspiration from AOS and from Heresy, Heresy / 7th Ed 40k, which is where Heresy basically was. I don't know if it still is. I'm not that close to Heresy. Where I think it won't play the same as AOS, because fundamentally AOS is a melee game with some shooting, and 40k is a shooting game with some melee. I know different factions go into different extremes, but one could argue that 40k is sort of 50-50 between them, which, okay, maybe it is. AOS isn't a shooting game. It has some shooting in it. So even if you just did a direct port of AOS to 40k, I honestly have no idea how it would play. One of the things that they... Back in the day with 40k, it wasn't about annihilating your enemy. It was about winning the scenario. And you could do that by... you could do that by... So your Marines, for instance, at a 2-foot range, with Marines and bolters, they had 10 shots. They'd get 6.6 hits. Shooting at an orcs, they'd then get... they'd get 3 and a bit wounds, so chances are you'd kill 3 of them. Then it was, do they back off? I know maybe orcs weren't a great example. One of the things I find with AOS is, yes, you do sometimes get really big units that can just demolish everything in their path, as it suggests they do in the narrative, but a lot of it, unless you're going for really power heavy armies, you can be in a protracted fight in AOS, and killing off a few and then some running away has a big difference. 40k used to play that way, but with shooting. So it depends if they move to... If that is a style of play that they want to replicate, it depends how they do it in that sort of move towards AOS. I suspect that it's still going to be about big buckets of dice. What I'm hoping, though, is that they've got away from the idea that in order to be effective, a unit has to delete the unit it shoots at, because it's boring. It's just incredibly boring to play that way, I think. It's like, and now I have 5 shots per model. How many have you got? 20. Hey! And you're all dead. It's like, So, don't really remember the question. So I'll stop talking now.
So it's a good time to stop. Pause. I think we've already done this another time, but we'll ask it again anyway. Kevval says, Kev, what would you like to see in the 10th edition?
Number of things. I'd like to see a morale system that actually involves units running away and coming back, rather than I'd like to see that. I'd like to see effectively what I've just intimated around it not all being about the ability of one unit to delete another unit, and to be more tactical than that. And I'd like to, for the idea of having a game to not fill me with dread of having to learn the rules and understand a jillion things. Seems like that one's sorted. I'm not sure about the other 2 yet.
I think I've asked this question before, but I just want to double check because it's from Discord. It's Kev again, and he says, would you like to see a new edition of Space Hulk?
We have had that one.
Have we had that one?
Oh,
yeah. Right. Okay, then.
Do you want to answer it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Not really.
Oh, that that was that. Yes, we have had that
because
before.
I've got a Space Hulk that I don't have time to play. I would then have two versions of Space Hulk that I wouldn't have time to play.
Okay, so Mr. Scott says, Paul, they say that Combat Patrol, well, it's up there so you can see it. Combat Patrol is literally about balancing the content of the boxes against each other.
Boo.
Probably.
Boo.
So not free reign to build your own list. That's a sad face. Oh.
Ho hum.
Hmm.
Combat Patrols, probably not anything I'm going to do too much of. They're the way I film 40k, they wouldn't. I don't see a huge number of them coming into the fitting in with sort of storytelling format. But that said, let's have a look at it when it comes out. It may well be that they you could play it with the you could play the missions and make your own up. I don't see why you couldn't do that, but we shall see what it says when it comes out.
And Pupas says, what happens if you buy a Combat Patrol and then one cool model you really like, suddenly you've blown it?
That's not what he said.
Well, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends because we don't know how scalable the well, I don't know. I don't know how scalable the Combat Patrols are to play the full version of the game. It could just be the Combat Patrol plus one model is actually a doable thing. Points limits and stuff. Yeah, don't know.
Question there from a sarcastic monkey.
What changes to the Crusade would you like to see? Honestly, couldn't tell you. I took a look at Crusade, decided it wasn't for me, so I couldn't tell you what it actually is. What the details actually are. Well, I can't tell you. The reason I don't get into it is it's a set of rules. It's you do this, this happens. The only way you can add a unit is by doing this. You must earn these points. Then this happens, then that happens, then that happens. Roll this dice, check on this table, do this thing, do that thing. And that's great if that's what you want to do on a regular basis with your mates. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to play. I mean, most people watching will have seen my videos there. That Crusade, you start off with a couple of things and it builds up to this and builds up to that and builds to that, and then these change. It doesn't suit the way I like to do my stories. So, I don't know.
I've got another one in Discord from Tom who says, with Beastman announced and Traitor God having models and a wider range of cultists, do you think we could see do you think we could see a Lost and the Damned Codex in the 10th?
Traitor God models, Beastman being announced? No. I say no. I don't think that it will take those existing models that you refer to and then link it together and call it a Lost and the Damned list. They don't seem to do that anymore. That was very much a sort of third ed, everything's possible. Here, do these conversions. Here's a framework. Go make your stuff. Have fun. Be cool. They don't do that anymore. They're much more, this is this, this is this, this is this. I hope they do Traitor God. You said do. I hope they do Traitor God. But I don't think they're going to do it in the way you just described. That's it.
That's it up to now. I've not got any. I've just checked Discord and I think Tom was the last one to put on there. I don't think there's not any more on there. And that is now up to date.
Okay. Well, Well.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. First, thank you. Thank you, Crimson. As always.
It's all right. Nobody wanted to know what I'd done this week anyway. Nobody was bothered.
Tell them now.
No, it's okay. It's fine. All I've been doing is Crimson Codex stuff, so that's all. So thank yous to Mick. No, it's fine. That's all I've been doing. Okay. Apart from I've left my job and then got a new job, and then that's all. Boring stuff, but
sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry. It's fine. I'll remember. It's okay. No worries. Thank yous to Mick and Andy for your super chats and members chat from Kevin, 29 months. It always makes me smile. 29 months. Fabulous. Again, another shout out for anybody that wasn't here at the start for Paul Fest. Paul Fest is on the 16th of September. And you need to message Make the Machine and
or Second Born,
isn't it?
And
Second Born as well in the Discord if you want tickets for that or any more information on that. And the Crimson Conflux is on the 27th and 28th of May. And if we've now got, although I just need to tweak it a little bit, but we've now got a Facebook page and we have now got a email address for all kind of tickets and things that might have come through.
You need to read that. Your public wants to hear from you.
Tell us about your week. Well, that's what I would just sort of, that is it really. I've done a Facebook page.
No, you need to big it up now.
Sorry, that's not fair. Thanks, Mick. I did a Facebook page and I did an email address and a PayPal account for the new event. And also any further events that we may be doing. So I'll put the Facebook into Discord so everybody can post on there and put comments on there would be great, and any pictures would be great as well. But anything like that, so that's what I've been doing. And I got the advert ready for the tickets, and I've sent that to Sanctuary Games as well so that they can put it out. But it's all been about that this week for me, really. Yeah, I left the job that I got. And then I got another job, and I don't know whether I told you this last week, but yeah, I got another job. It wasn't what I expected. So it's been a bit of a busy week for me, actually. And I've sorted out the shower today, Showergate. Everybody knows about Showergate. Showergate.
They remember about the shower issue last year. I don't think they know about the new one this year. Basically, the one that was last year was...
Well, it's the same one. It's the same ongoing problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very fat and I break shower trays. It's the short version.
Actually, the plumbers that came today, because I was in when the plumbers came today, and the plumbers that came today said it's held up by a couple of pieces of wood. It's nothing to do with that.
A couple of pieces of wood that don't like fat people standing on them.
Well, no bits of wood like fat people standing on them. So basically,
I think what you meant.
It went through the shower tray, is what we're trying to say.
I think what you meant was pieces of wood don't like anyone standing on them.
Well, they don't. That's what I was meaning. Anyway, but thank you, Mick. Thank you. Yeah. Well, the shower tray is now going to be on concrete, so it's going nowhere. So the new plumbers will be coming the week after next.
Assuming the floor's strong enough.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Right.
He did say that. Oh, you see, Puppets went through a shower tray in his old flat. They're just dodgy. See? They're just dodgy.
But I bet they go quicker if you're fat.
Oh my God. I mean, oh, flipping heck. So, yes, I've had a bit of a busy week. Yeah, well, he did say they would have this. it wasn't just as simple as ripping it out, putting some concrete down. He did say that they would be here for 3 days and it would be a bit of a job. And so hopefully you won't go through it again.
If they fill the ground floor with concrete just to make the shower sturdy on the first floor, that's going to make it difficult to get in.
Well, what do you want then? You want everything, don't you? You want to be able to access your kitchen. You want to be able to have a shower. It's just... Anyway. Yeah, a castle. Yeah, so that's what they're going to do anyway. So that's what I've been doing all week, sorting out all those different things. There'll be turrets. Will there be turrets? Yeah. This could be a new thing. We could actually do that and go and live in the lockup.
Says in the contract you can't do that.
Yeah, what they don't know won't hurt them.
I mean, there are cameras.
Yeah.
They might notice us putting a portaloo in there and a set of bunk
We're
beds.
going to put a loo in.
How would you live in? No.
There was lots of bushes.
Well, that takes care of half the problems.
Anyway, thank yous. Shout out for Paul Fest and Crimson Conflux.
And on that note,
thank
you once again, Crimson, and thank you all for joining us. It has been it's been a ramble. It's been a ramble. Take care, everybody, and see you in the next one.
See you soon.
Say bye, Crimson.
Bye, Crimson.
Bye. I did turn it off then.